undue advantage of the information you are having for your personal benefits or for the benefit of somebody else. Most of them are now becoming illegal also. Like say for example insider trading. Like as a CFO or a finance manager, you might be knowing that the company is going to report a loss, and immediately after reporting a loss, the company share price might go down. So you advise all your friends that we are going to announce this thing. So immediately after that, there may be a dip, so please sell. Or on the contrary, you can say that okay, we are going to report a huge profit. So immediately after that, the share prices are going to go up. So please buy that, then you can really make a windfall gain. So this is now illegal because insider trading is illegal. But insider trading again, you have got the relationship clearly defined, all that. But still, it is unethical in all the cases. Whether it is becoming illegal based on definition, this is the. So either for unethical or illegal advantage, you should not be using the confidential information. You should refrain from using confidential information uh, uh, for unethical or illegal advantage. Then if you do that, you are violating the confidentiality standard. Third point is the confidentiality standard. Clear? What are the points? What are the points? 3 points in the competence. You need to be competent. You need to keep updated. You need to perform your duties in accordance with that standard. You need to provide decision support and recommendation with your knowledge and competence what you are having, and you need to recognize and manage risk. That's competence standard. Confidentiality, keep everything confidential unless it is really required. The disclosure is authorized or uh, legally required. That is the first confidential. Second, whenever you give information, give the advice that they have to keep this. You have to inform them that they also have to keep this information confidential. Doesn't stop with that. You need to monitor their compliance regarding that. Then you should be keeping. You should abstain or you should refrain from using this confidential information for unethical or illegal advantage. Somebody has come new in Myanmar. She has joined at 7:25. Sorry, Myanmar. Vimal also has joined. Sean, I can give video access now. Parvati also I can give. No, I'm not able to. Sysna also video access. Yeah, video access I have given. Okay. So 3 points. So 3 points under competence, 3 points under confidentiality. But you should remember that order. You should really mug up. I mean, it's not mugging up. Actually, you should read it many times that it will really echo. The exact sentences will echo in your mind. Then third one is integrity. Here, the first point: mitigate actual conflict of interest. Regularly communicate with business associates to avoid apparent conflict of interest. Advise all parties of any potential conflict of interest. So, integrity standard, first point is all about conflict of interest. So, conflict of interest means actually your business interest and your personal interest conflict. So, you should, what you are supposed to do are given in the first sentence. First point. Then you should refrain from engaging in any conduct that would prejudice carrying out duties ethically. Right? You should refrain from any conduct that would prejudice carrying out duties ethically. Abstain from engaging in or supporting any activity that may discredit the profession. Contribute to a positive ethical culture and place integrity of the profession above personal interest. This is a new thing which has come in 2017. Contribute to a positive ethical culture and place integrity of the profession above personal interest. If you go into the old one, integrity standard had only 3 points, exact same 3 points which we have it here. But the new one has got a fourth point: contribute to a positive ethical culture. So, like you are giving a proactive decision support here in the integrity field. Actually, you need to really contribute to a positive ethical culture and place integrity of the profession above personal interest. So, this is recognizing the leadership role the IMM members have to take it. Actually, the proactive uh, positive ethical culture they have to maintain in the organization. They should contribute positively towards developing that culture, right? And place the integrity of the profession above personal interest. Like, I will explain you that actually, but let me go in the order. So give me half a minute. So the first point under the integrity standard is to mitigate actual conflict of interest, regularly communicate with business associates to avoid apparent conflicts of interest, advise all parties of any potential conflict of interest. So the advice is actually, you understand what is conflict of interest. There is a conflict between the personal interest and the business interest, interest of the organization you're working for, and as a person, your interest, right? That's a conflict of interest. You should try to reduce the actual conflict of interest, right? Like, say, for example, uh, if you are taking a bribe, then you have to sacrifice your business interest in favor of your personal interest of gaining money. You should mitigate, you should reduce that actually, right? And you should regularly communicate with business associates to avoid apparent conflict of interest. The apparent conflict of interest means there is actually not a conflict of interest, right? There is actually no conflict of interest, but it appears that there is a conflict of interest. So you should regularly communicate with the business associates to avoid such seemingly, I mean, such apparent conflict of interest. I'll tell you an example. Like, for example, you are uh, you are publishing an equity research. You know what is equity research, right? Equity research report. Equity research report will be a thorough analysis of the script, the share you are analyzing, and it should culminate in a decision to help the investor, potential investor or investor to sell if he has got already some investment to sell, or continue to hold that, or buy more of it. That is it. Sell, hold, buy. That's the decision recommendation an equity researcher should give. And you are giving an equity research report for Reliance, and your name is a what do I say, like Bunyamin Ambani. Bunyamin has got nothing to do with Ambani family, but he is doing an equity research for Reliance, and everybody knows that Ambanis are the owners, the main shareholders of Reliance Industries. So when people see Bunyamin Ambani, they will have a feeling that this guy is having some blood relation with Ambani family. So that's an apparent conflict of interest. But actually speaking, he is not even related to that. He is here at Ernakulam or whichever place he is there. And it so happened that his second name is Ambani, but has got nothing to do with that. So what he should do? He should communicate that fact to avoid that apparent conflict of interest. So whenever you have like a situation like this, it appears to others that there is a conflict of interest, you should communicate that fact, right? You should regularly communicate with whomever you are doing business with to avoid such apparent conflict of interest. Whenever there is an actual conflict of interest, you should try to mitigate that. Like say, for example, if you're taking a loan from a, I mean, sorry, if you are appointed as an auditor in a bank, if you have some loan in that bank, you should try to settle that and then or at least keep that loan or anything at a very minimal level, not exceeding a level that you have to have some compromise about your relationship as an auditor. So you should try to mitigate. You can have a credit card that need not be a like this credit card. You will not be able to, I mean, influence. You won't be influenced by any policy of the bank normally. So, but that you have to judge, and you should try to reduce the actual conflict of interest to a level that you will have to sacrifice your business interest and personal interest conflict actually there. So you have to mitigate the actual conflict of interest. You should try to reduce to the level that you have to have a compromise of the personal interest for discharging your professional duties. So you should try to mitigate that, right? And whenever there is an apparent conflict of interest, you should inform the other parties. You should communicate with the other parties. No, no, no. This is the confusion. I don't have any conflict of interest here. I have no blood relationship with the Ambani family whatsoever. Like that, you need to keep them informed. You need to regularly communicate with them. And then, when there is a potential conflict of interest, like when there is a potential conflict of interest, you need to advise all parties of any potential conflict of interest. Like, say, for example, like you are in the board of directors, and then board is discussing about awarding a contract to to people who have bid for it, and you know that a friend of yours or a relative of yours, a close friend or a relative also has bid. So you will have to inform the board of directors that you are because your relative has also bid for this. You are having a potential conflict of interest. So I am abstaining from this. You should advise. And if they still feel that no, 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 your expertise is needed, you can. But you have the responsibility to advise all parties of any potential conflict. So these are the common cases which would really be coming as questions in this point. In the like when your name is confusing or anything of that sort, whenever there is a potential conflict of interest, you need to communicate associates to avoid that. So if you don't do that, that's a violation of the first point. And when you are appointed as an auditor, when your wife is working there in the finance department, if you don't advise the parties regarding the potential conflict of interest, like say for example, if your wife is working there in the HR department, probably like you can say that okay, my wife is there, she's in the HR department. You need to advise them, but if your wife is working in the finance department, if you're going as an auditor, then it's really too much actually. You need to really try to see that you are not either not taking up or you have to do something to mitigate the actual conflict of interest. So actual conflict of interest you should reduce to the extent possible, right? And apparent conflict of interest, you should really try to communicate with people that there appears some conflict of interest, but there is actually none. And whenever there is a potential conflict of interest, you should really inform or you should advise other parties regarding that potential conflict of interest. One common question you would have is about accepting gift from people. Actually, that is that you should really try to avoid that. Actually, when you when your colleagues give you gift, is it to really influence you to take some actions in favor of them? So then that is affecting your like integrity, right? The others might see that, and you would return that favor by giving a reciprocal favor which might be conflicting with the business interest. So that is the thing. So accepting gift is one common example where the integrity standard is violated. Bribery, definitely, that is something which is affecting the integrity of that
Sir,
person. Yeah.
sir, accepting gift, I think it is credibility, right?
No,
Okay, sir.
credibility is only about reports. It is not at all there in the credibility standard. It is there in the integrity standard. Accepting it. Then, refrain from engaging in any conduct that would prejudice carrying out duties ethically. Like, say, for example, uh, if you think that uh, if you drink too much alcohol, you will not be able to apply your mind. If you feel that way, if that is the situation, you should refrain from taking too much alcohol before doing your work, right? So you should refrain from engaging in any conduct that would prejudice carrying out duties ethically. Abstain from engaging or supporting any activity that may discredit the profession. Like, you may think that that is something which is not so harmful, but then if the society feels that that is something really bad, you should abstain from engaging or supporting in any activity that may discredit the profession. Like, if you are in a society where the LGBT activities are considered not good, as a management accountant, you should try to abstain from such activities, right? And definitely you should uh, try to avoid whatever is your way of thinking about some terrorist act organization that can discredit the profession. So you should abstain from engaging or supporting such activities. And then, like, today's world is actually having a melting pot of different cultures. People having different belief system will be coming there. So you may be believing in certain religious code, all that, but then you should really see that the integrity of the profession is above the personal interest. And there, in that globalization and in the mixed culture, you should really contributing to that positive ethical culture there in the organization. So contribute to a positive ethical culture and place integrity of the profession above personal interest is really important in today's multicultural organization, globalization, right? So that is why, like, the immigration culture and really immigration and like places like Canada, Australia, those places where they are inviting people, they are accepting people from all over the world. The workplace is really having people from different religious background, ethnic background, having different dress code, everything. So here, a management accountant is expected to contribute to a positive ethical culture. And while doing so, the integrity of the profession should be considered above their personal beliefs. That is one thing added to this. So giving bribe, I mean, not giving, accepting bribe, gift, everything, and then informing parties about your personal interest and all those things is a clear violation of the integrity standard that is covered under point number one. And then having a contact which is ensuring that that is not discrediting the profession, that is integrity profession. Doing whatever you feel that might be having some compromise in that carrying out the duties ethically, you should refrain from doing that. That is also ethical standard. And this is a new one where in the globalization and what do we say, the fusion of culture, you are supposed to contribute to a positive ethical culture. And there, when you do this, that leadership role, when you take up that, you should place the integrity of the profession above your personal beliefs. Okay, that's about the integrity standard. Now the last one is credibility. One thing to do the questions correctly in the credibility, just think that credibility is all about the reports, not about the person. If you confuse that with the person, then you are getting into the integrity. It is all about the reports. So just think that way, then you will be okay with answering the question. First point, you should communicate information fairly and objectively. Why do you communicate? Then only your report will be credible. Your analysis would be credible only if you're communicating that fairly and objectively. It is not about the objectivity of that person, that is another. Actually, it is about communicating information fairly and objectively. This is about the credibility of the report. So let's say credibility of the report and credibility of analysis, credibility of your output. That is what it's coming. Don't confuse it with the credibility of the person. Credibility of the person is integrity. So credibility of the report, communicate information and information fairly and objectively, right? Uh, then provide all relevant information that could reasonably be expected to influence an intended user's understanding of the report's analysis and recommendations. So this all four points are about the report's analysis and recommendations you are giving out. That you should communicate that information fairly and objectively. You should provide all information that could reasonably be expected to influence an intended user's understanding of that report, right? Uh, because see, when you like when you learn the accounting, there the qualitative characteristics of accounting. When you are learning, you are saying, faithful representation. That is what is coming here. It should faithfully represent. It purport to represent means like it should have some ingredients, like you should give complete description of the economic phenomenon, right? And it should be neutral. Then what are the other things? It should be neutral, complete, free from errors. Yeah, those were the 3 points we were having it. So all those things are coming here. You should provide all relevant information, like it is relevance and faithful representation. There, that qualitative characteristic you are learning, in the first part. So here you are having that. Actually, you should, whenever you give any analysis, report, or recommendation, you should give all relevant information which can have an impact on the, or which can influence that user of that report, right? So that's about the second point. Then when you give report, if there is any delay or deficiency of information regarding the timeliness, processing, internal controls, so all that you should report. So you should report any delays or deficiencies information. You should report about the timeliness or any difficulty in complying with the timeliness, processing, internal controls in conformance with the organization's policy and or applicable law. Say for example, you are supposed to give like a budget. Your superior has asked you to compile a budget in and present it in the next meeting, right? The next meeting is only 3 days away. So that's not good enough for a thorough analysis, but you can always do a budget in 2 days time, 3 days time, whatever possible. But then when you feel that that is not really adequate, you have to really say that I was supposed to present it in this thing, what all information I could take it with things, certain assumptions are done. In the absence of this information, I have relied on this. Like that, you have to report any delay or deficiency in information, timeliness, processing, or internal controls in conformance with the organization's policy or applicable law. Like you when you give the report, like this was supposed to be presented during this time, but then there is a delay, or because of other commitments we are like issuing it early, like that. Any lapses or any deficiency in the information regarding its timeliness or internal control compliance or any applicable provisions if they are violating, all those things should be clearly highlighted there. then only that report will become credible. So all these things, you relate that to report. Otherwise, you will have the confusion of relating this to integrity. Then communicate professional limitations or other constraints that would preclude responsible judgment or successful performance of an activity. Here also, when you relate that to a report, an output, an analysis, what you are giving, like when you are giving an audit report of a financial institution, they have too many options, all that, right? So you haven't heard of, you have learned something about Black Scholes model, but then big statistics, all that you don't know. Then you write that clearly that there are like the asset cuts, the 20% of the asset or 25% of the asset are options. I am not an expert in option valuation, and I have relied on the valuation done by a third-party valuer. So you are communicating your professional limitations and other constraints, and then saying that because of that, I have relied on this, and otherwise you others would say that would think that you are an expert in that field. So you should communicate professional limitations or other constraints that would preclude responsible judgment or successful performance of an activity. That's also about your output and report, right? So the whole of credibility standard, you will not go wrong in your examination if you relate that to report analysis or recommendation. First of all, when you give out, you should uh, you should you should be objective and you should be fair. You should give all relevant information which can be influencing the other party. And if there is any delay or any deficiency in that report, you should communicate that. As a person, if you are not competent to do anything of that sort, if there are any constraint you are facing, that you should communicate. So these are the four things. First of all, communicate information fairly also. Provide complete information which can influence the other person. Then if there are any delays, deficiencies in the report, you report that. If you are facing any limitations, report that. That also will add to the credibility of the output you are giving or credibility of the report you are giving. So these are the credibility standards. So let me repeat it actually. Competence, you need to be competent. You need to keep yourself updated, skills, knowledge, everything. Then you need to perform your duties in accordance with that. Then you should give not just doing the work. You need to be proactive in giving decision support. Like you need to help. You need to recognize and manage risk also. So that is the competence standard. When it comes to confidentiality, you need to keep everything confidential unless it is legally required or you are authorized to give that information. And then the second point under confidentiality, when you give the information to others, keep them also informed that these are confidential information. Just by advising them about the confidentiality is not good enough. You need to monitor their compliance. And then when you have confidential information, you should not use that for illegal or personal or unethical advantage. That's about confidentiality. Then, when it comes to integrity, conflict of interest. You should not accept bribe. You should not really take even a gift which would really uh, make others feel that you are compromising your business interest or your personal interest. But then you have to really see, or you give me this gift, all that. Like you have to use your judgment in that. Actually, if you accept a valuable gift, a very costly gift, that can influence you. But then accepting a cup of coffee or a small diary and all may not really damage your integrity. You should understand that. Okay, so those are questions: the gifts, bribes, all those things, and then your relatives involved in the decision making. So you should advise the parties about the potential conflict of interest. So that is integrity means the first thing it should come to your mind is conflict of interest. That's the first point also. Then you should really refrain from any engaging in any conduct that can influence, that can prejudice Then you should abstain from any activity, supporting any activity where it can discredit the profession. Then the fourth point under the integrity standard is a brand new one, which is there. It was not there earlier. This is about the today's world of globalization and culture fusion. You have to management accountant or an IMA member has to contribute to a positive ethical culture. There, when doing so, you should place the integrity of the profession above personal interest. When it comes to credibility, it's all about reports and outputs and analysis you are giving out. You should communicate all information without any personal bias, fairly and objectively. You should give all information which can influence other person. You should not suppress any information. Then you should report any delay deficiency in that information you are giving out. Okay, we have cooked up this information, we have assumed this, and these are sourced from here, like that. Any delay deficiency in lack, any issue with the internal control, everything has to be there in that report. And if, as a person, if you are not competent also, like, you should communicate that professional limitations are and other constraint that would preclude your responsible judgment regarding that activity, right? So you, something as a limitation you are facing which can affect the successful performance of an activity, that also you need to. So this is about that data. This is about yourself, right? But it's all concerning the output and report you are giving. So what? Then the last paragraph is as important, probably more important than all this. So resolving ethical issues. So that was titled in the old one, resolution of ethical conflict. So they are like resolution. These are the steps procedure. No, resolving what you should do. Like, it is more suggestive there. They have just changed that to resolving ethical issues, right? What you are supposed to do. In applying the standards of ethical professional practice, a member may encounter unethical issues of ethics. That's quite normal, right? In applying standards of ethical professional practice, or while carrying out the duties, or while in employment, right? Whenever you are performing anything, you may encounter unethical issues of behavior. What are you supposed to do? In these situations, members should not ignore, but rather should actively seek resolution of the issue. So, whenever you encounter any violation or any unethical issues of behavior in your organization, okay, it's not concerning me, it's not my area, like that, you should not be closing your eyes. You should really, you should not ignore them, but you should actively seek resolution, right? That's a proactive. You may not really agree with that, but that is what is written there. You are supposed to take proactive. Like, world is thinking in a different direction than some of the people who are more mature take the decision. Like, say for example, like, you need to respond to all the bad behaviors in society, right? Are you having that responsibility? Personally, you may be having another view. Like, say for example, I don't have the responsibility to correct. Like, what do you say? Like, there is another. See, whenever there is an injustice in the society, whether you need to act or you need to ignore that, may be your personal call. But here they say that whenever you encounter any unethical issue or behavior, as a member of IMA, you should not ignore them, but rather should actively seek resolution of the issue. In determining which steps to follow, the member should consider all risks involved and whether protections exist against retaliation. So, before doing any steps, before taking up any steps, you should consider the risk involved and you are safe or not, whether protections exist against retaliation or not. You should be like aware of the risks, the personal threats you may encounter, that your actions, like if there is some risk involved, don't do anything. That's not what they are saying. In determining that which steps to follow, you should consider the risk you might face. You should consider the actions are following. You should be aware what all risk you can have. Like, you should not be a fool that you haven't considered the risk involved. You should be aware, but then that need not really stop you from taking the action. You should actively seek a solution, but before doing that, you should be aware of what consequence it will have. So it is only a piece of advice that you should be seeing. It is nothing to do with what you should be doing. Where whatever they are saying that you should do, you should consider the risk it can pose to yourself. That nothing about whether you should really consider or not actually, but what could be the ideal step would be coming to your mind only when you consider uh, what are the consequences of your actions, right? So in determining which steps to follow, that will guide you actually, right? In determining which steps to follow, the member should consider all risk involved and whether protections exist against retaliation. But in all these things, you should take, you should actively seek resolution of the issue. You should not ignore it. But before taking the steps or before deciding about which steps to follow, you members should consider all risks involved and whether protections exist against retaliation. Okay, that's the introduction. So what is it actually? You cannot ignore. You should seek active resolution of the issue. That's so now what to do actually. When faced with unethical issues, okay, another 10 minutes only I will be continuing. When faced with unethical issues, members should follow established policies of his or her organization, including use of an anonymous reporting system if available. That's the first course of action you can have, right? You should consult the policies of your organization, right? You should follow the established policies of your organization, including use of an anonymous calling system if that is available. You have to really see what is available, what is the policy of the organization. Whenever you see, like, you see the policy of this, you may have a code of conduct there. It says that, okay, if you see that any manager here is taking a bribe, please inform HR department. And if you feel that informing HR department can be prejudicial to you, you can call at this number without even identifying your identity. So that whistleblower system may be available there in the organization. So that's the first thing you should do. So when faced with unethical issues, members should follow the established policies of his or her organization. That established policies of his or her organization may include anonymous calling. If that is the case, you can even do that. That is what you should do. Whenever you face, you face an unethical issue, you should follow the established policies of your organization, including the anonymous calling system if that is facilities available. That is what you should do. But if the organization doesn't have established policies, what then you should consider the following courses of action, right? There are 3 bullet points. This bullet points means I have to write in some order. Doesn't have 1, 2, 3. There is no priority. You can have it in any order. You can have all these actions together. So first, whenever you are facing, don't ignore. You should actively seek resolution. But first thing is actually you should consult the established policies. In the absence of established policies and procedure, consider the following alternatives available. No particular order. All the 3 bullet points you can take up, or any of them you can take up in any order whatsoever. Earlier, the bullet points, instead of the bullet points, you had 1, 2, 3. So, like, whenever you face an unethical issue, first refer to the established policies, then do this, like that. They were giving a priority list. So that is not what is intended. Any of these 3 can come in any order, or all the 3 can be taken, or any of them, any combination can be taken, right? So they have removed this 1, 2, 3, instead put bullet points there. But the same 3 points are there. But only thing is actually like there's an illustration there of what is given there, the first point that they have removed. But that illustration also is good information. We will read that also. So there is absolutely no change there. First of all, you need to discuss that with your immediate supervisor. If you come across anything, if there is no guidance there in the established policy, you should discuss that issue with your immediate supervisor. But if you think that the immediate supervisor is engaged in that misconduct and that unethical behavior, then you can go into the next higher level. But otherwise, don't bypass your immediate supervisor. First, if there is in the absence of established policies, first you should discuss that with your immediate supervisor unless he is involved in that, right? And if the supervisor appears to be involved, then the issue could be presented to the next level of management. And then of course here you first discuss that with your immediate supervisor, and if he is not giving you a correct advice regarding that, if you are not happy with him, then of course then that case also you can take it to the next higher level. But first course of action is to take that issue with your immediate supervisor. So here, who is your immediate supervisor? If you are a CEO, CFO level person, then your immediate supervisor is CEO. If you are an assistant manager, then manager is your immediate supervisor, right? So like that. So discuss the issue with your immediate supervisor, except when it appears that the supervisor is involved. In that case, present the issue to the next level. Then they are giving an example. If you cannot achieve a satisfactory resolution, submit the issue to the next manager. Okay, that is not good. So this is from here they are giving an example. If your immediate supervisor is like, I have some issue with the pen. I am just refreshing it. Sorry for that. Okay. Right. So discuss the issue with your immediate supervisor. That is one course of action. But when you see that there are no established policies, one action you could do is to discuss the issue with your immediate supervisor, except when it appears that the supervisor is involved. In that case, present the issue to the next level. If you cannot achieve a satisfactory resolution, submit the issue to the next management level. So this is understood, but it is not there in the new one actually. And then there is an illustration of that. That is also taken out because it is understood from the first two sentences. If your immediate supervisor is the CEO or equivalent, then the acceptable reviewing authority may be groups such as the audit committee, executive committee, board of directors, board of trustees, or owners, because CEO is the ultimate there. So the next higher level could be the board. Contact with levels above the immediate supervisor should be initiated only with your supervisor's knowledge, assuming he or she is not involved. If your boss is not giving you satisfactory information, you can inform him that you are going out. But if you think, unless you think that he is involved, so don't bypass your supervisor unless you feel that he is involved and he has got a vested interest in that. Right? Contact with levels above immediate supervisor should be initiated only with your superior's knowledge, assuming he or she is not involved. Communications of such problems to authorities or individuals not employed or engaged by the organization is not considered appropriate unless you believe there is a clear violation of law. This is something which you cannot write now in black and white. So that is why they have removed this. But even now that is a desired behavior. Like when you come across some evasion of tax or anything of that sort, don't go to tax authority and inform them. But then taxation authorities will give it in the law itself, saying that if you come across that, you can do that. If you feel that you will be threatened, you can even government authorities themselves have got anonymous calling system nowadays. So it is a confusion area, so they better remove it from this. But even now, the institute has got a view, but not official view, that it is still correct. communication of such problems to authorities or individuals not employed or engaged by the organization is not considered appropriate. Like if you are there in the job, there's so much of tax evasion happening, going to the tax authorities and informing is not appropriate. But you cannot say that. It is appropriate by the written legislation. So you should not be writing that they have done. Right? And in all these cases, unless you believe there is a clear violation of law, it's an IVR. Right? Where will you have, like, you are not an investigator to believe there is a clear violation of law. All these are confusion, so that is just removed from that investigation. So now it's only one sentence here. You discuss that with your immediate supervisor, unless you think that it is important, right? Then, along with that, or in addition to that, right, or in the absence of that, whatever way you can really call the IMA helpline, right? How the key elements of the IMA CPP would be applied in this situation, you can discuss, and they will give you advice. They don't charge you for that, right? But then it is not a hotline. You have to give the it is anonymous, but still they have to call you back, right? So they will keep your identity secret. That's all they will say. But then that is not truly anonymous. Helpline, that is not truly anonymous. They will know, but they will not divulge that you have called. That's it. So IMA offers an anonymous helpline. That is the meaning of that anonymous helpline that the member may call. But in the other whistleblower system, it is not like that. You can really truly hide your identity. But here it is not like that. You are calling. IMA will keep it confidential. IMA offers an anonymous helpline that the member may call to request how key elements of the IMA SCPP may be applied, could be applied in the to that unethical issue. I will just rush through that, but I will explain this in the next class. Then the member should consider consulting his or her attorney to learn of any legal obligations, rights, risk, concern. This is also an alternative. This is also in addition to the other steps you do, right? Like this is about consulting your own attorney, not the attorney of the organization. The attorney of the organization will not think in favor of you. Will be having the organizational interest before your interest. So you have to consider consulting your own attorney to learn of any legal obligations, rights, and risks concerning the issue. Right? So you should appreciate that it is not about consulting the attorney of the organization when you come across any unethical issue. The third point is about consulting your own attorney about the rights and risks concerning the issue as it affects you. You could really see that. So from your personal point of view, you could take your personal attorney, you could call IMA helpline, you could consult your your immediate supervisor. These are the courses of action. And if you try your best, if you are not succeeding in that, if the resolution efforts are not successful, then member may wish to consider disassociating with the organization. Meaning what? If all these fail, you can consider resigning from the organization, disassociating from the organization. Actually, in the 2005, from the 1987 onwards, it was there. But then, if all the resolution efforts are unsuccessful, you should consider resigning from the organization. That was there. But then somehow, in the 2005 version, that was taken out. It is not there. That is stopping at that. But in the earlier one, like 2005, earlier to that, it was there. When we were studying, that was there. But that you should consider resigning from the organization was like worded. It was worded like that. It was there in that, but then they removed it. But then they brought it back now. Right? So when all your resolution efforts are unsuccessful, you should even consider or may wish to consider disassociating from the organization. But anyway, we will go through that resolution part for the first 5 minutes in the next class, and then we will take questions. So I have a class at 9 o'clock. I am stopping. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. Another 2 minutes I will have. But I told you, this This is not step 1, 2, 3. These are steps you could take together, right? Or like one or any combination. What are the three steps? One. What are the three alternatives you can have, or three ways, three courses of action? That's best way. If the organization does not have established policies, then only these points come. Otherwise, you should resort to the established policies. If the organization does not have established policies, including the anonymous calling system, then you should consider the following courses of action. Discuss that with your immediate supervisor unless he is involved, right? Don't bypass your supervisor unless he is involved. Even in the case of his inability to take also, you should keep him in the loop and then only go out. Otherwise, you are a failure there, you should consider associating with the organization. Then IMA offers an anonymous helpline, you can make use of that.